1 million UFO sightings are reported each year. Most can be debunked, but 5% remain unexplained. These are the close encounters.
JAL 1628 Heavy, Anchorage Center. Proceed to Talkeetna, heading 215.
On a routine flight, Captain Kenju Taruchi and his Japanese airline crew make their way towards Anchorage, Alaska to refuel. The 747 is only halfway to its final destination.
It was a flight from Paris to Tokyo. It was a freighter. It had a shipment of wine on board. A large shipment, obviously, in a 747. Captain Taruchi was a very experienced pilot. He was an ex-fighter pilot in the Japanese Air Force. Many thousands of hours of flying time.
Captain Taruchi cruises at nearly 1,000 kilometers an hour. The night is fairly clear. No storms in sight. But at precisely 5:11 p.m., something catches his eye.
He looks out through his window and he sees something that doesn't look right. And the first thing he's thinking of is it's something that shouldn't be there. Then it disappeared.
あなたはそれをキャッチしたのですか?
おそらく宮殿からの戦闘機だろう。
Because Alaska is only 100 kilometers from the Soviet Union, the airspace is under constant patrol by U.S. Air Force jets. The object suddenly reappears. Captain Taruchi worries that it will penetrate his airspace and possibly trigger deadly turbulence.
Every airplane owns a block of airspace, 10 miles long, 5 miles wide, and in this case, 2,000 feet thick. It's like a big shoebox. And if anybody gets inside or too close to that box of airspace, it could suck the 747 into his wake.
And quite literally tear a wing off.
But the object disappears once again.
Anchorage Center, JAL
1628. Do you have any traffic at 11 o'clock above?
JAL 1628 Heavy, Anchorage Center.
Negative.
Air traffic control doesn't have another airliner in the mix.
Captain Taruchi tries to pick it up on his weather radar.
He sees this big blob that's moving toward him. Coming after you. You gotta do something to get out of the way. Save yourself.
Anchorage, 呼び出します。
Anchorage Center, JAL 1628. We have inside traffic in front of us about 1 kilometer.
JAL 1628, can you identify the aircraft?
He knows in the back of his mind that nobody believes in UFOs, so he's trying to talk about what's there without saying what's there.
We cannot identify the type, but we can see the navigation lights.
The controller calls the Elmendorf U.S. Air Force Base, just outside Anchorage.
The first thing that a controller thinks is that the military must be flying, in the area.
No, sir. All flights grounded since 1600 hours.
And they say no, they don't have anybody up, so it's not one of theirs. Now, all of a sudden, the object seemed to have disappeared.
The Japanese pilot was questioning what it was doing.
Maybe they just turned their lights off. Who knows?
Then, as they near Fairbanks, Alaska, Captain Tarucci gets his first full look at the craft that's been following them.
This thing was immense.
It's 4 times the size of an aircraft carrier. In his mind, he says if that craft gets too close to us, it's gonna flip us over and we're gonna die.
It literally has to scare the crap out of a pilot.
He's worried about staying alive.
The crew of JAL 1628 believe they've spotted a strange object over Alaska, 4 times bigger than an aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier is a city. They can have 12,000 people on an aircraft carrier, and figure there's 4 of them.
As the object hovers ever closer, the crew is forced to deal with increasing turbulence.
Seeing something that huge alongside of you, you know, it literally has to scare the, you know, the crap out of a pilot.
Request heading 240.
Captain Tarucci decides to put some space between them and the mysterious object.
Anchorage center.
Requesting object heading southwest.
The pilot requested to change his altitude, and it's coming in broken.
JAL 1628, you're coming broken. Say again.
The crew can't change their course without approval from air traffic control.
Requesting change. 40.
Understood. Requesting flight level 310. Descend at pilot's discretion.
The controller checked to see if there's anybody else underneath him, and he says, no, you can go down to 31,000. But the damn thing stayed right with them. He doesn't know what else he can do. He's worried about staying alive.
The controller calls for an unusual maneuver.
JAL 1628, I'm going to request you make a right turn, 360-degree turn. Advise me what your traffic does.
He's thinking that if this aircraft is following him and that he makes a big circle, that this guy will go on his way and it won't bother him anymore.
Probably 5 or 6 minutes to make that complete turn all the way around and then come back on course again.
For the first time in over 20 minutes, the crew can finally relax. But seconds later, the mysterious craft is back.
The thing followed them all the way around the turn.
JAL 1628.
Primary target behind you in trail. In trail. I say again. Can you see it?
As the object draws close, the crew is hit with more turbulence. The air traffic controller has no way to identify the strange craft in his airspace.
JAL 1628, I'm gonna get you out of this.
He contacts an approaching airline to help him investigate.
UA-69 Heavy, this is Anchorage Center. Come in.
The controller realized there was somebody out there. They had the United 69 coming up from the south. So the controller says, can we deviate you a little bit? We've got a 747 up here that thinks he's being followed by another aircraft or something. And the United said, fine.
For safety reasons, the passenger plane only pulls to within 20 kilometers of the JAL 747.
Hold tight, I've got someone coming by.
UA-69 Heavy, we've got the Japan airliner in sight, but I don't see anybody around him. He couldn't report seeing the object that Tarochi was seeing.
JAL 1628, can you see?
The crew of JAL 1628 report that they too can no longer see the object.
The 747 descends and lands. Nothing else happened, and he's probably happy to be on the ground.
If there was a primer around for UFO reports for pilots, JAL would be ranking up there as one of the best.
On landing, John Callahan immediately interviews the JAL crew. All 3 crew members provide similar reports of what they saw. That report appears to be backed up by radar data from the Elmendorf U.S. Air Force Base. They confirm that a very large craft was spotted that night near JAL 1628. But a group of UFO skeptics later issues a press release claiming the crew saw Jupiter and Mars. Another theory suggests that the strange lights were reflections of moonlight in clouds filled with turbulent ice crystals. However, all weather data for that evening indicates a clear sky with good visibility.
Dispatch, car 407, proceed with caution.
He heard a cracking sound, and that's the last he remembers.
Marshall County Police? What's your location? All right, stand by. Patrol car is en route. Northbound 220. Suspicious activity reported. Multiple vehicles. Smugglers? Looks like it. On my way.
Deputy Val Johnson heads out to Highway 220 in northern Minnesota in pursuit of possible drug traffickers.
The Val Johnson case has lots of factors that make it stand out as a very distinctive event, and a distinctive event that says that something unusual happened to Officer Johnson.
Dispatch, car 407, proceed with caution. Maintain radio contact.
Dispatch 407, roger.
The credibility of the witness is very important. Val Johnson was a police officer. When people come forward who are solid citizens in the community, that adds some
good evidence to suggest there really was something there.
Heading west, approaching Highway 220 now. Will advise.
Copy that.
When he radioed to the station, he noted the time, and the station officer noted the time as well, and that would have been critical in trying to assess what happened next. He was driving on one of the small backcountry roads and noticed a light slightly over the trees some distance away.
407 dispatch. Listen, Greg, I've got a possible aircraft low on the horizon. Could be a Cessna dropping their cargo. I'm gonna go check it out.
Copy that, 407.
Deputy Johnson only has a few minutes before the smugglers drop their cargo and take off again.
He accelerates to a high speed, he thinks about 65 miles an hour, and tries to get closer to this thing. What is that?
There was something odd about it. It didn't have some of the flashing lights associated with normal aircraft.
That's not a plane.
In the Val Johnson case, everything seems to have happened at once. And as he gets closer, that's when everything goes haywire.
What started as a police investigation is about to become something altogether different.
This light was definitely destined for him.
While patrolling the back roads of northern Minnesota, Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson spots a strange light in the sky.
And at this point, he could see it wasn't a plane because it was this bright, very bright thing. It didn't have the running lights like a plane, and so he was beginning to realize that this was something unusual that he was witnessing.
He was wondering what in heaven's name could this be.
Whatever Johnson is chasing suddenly makes a sharp turn.
The light comes right at him. He heard a cracking sound, and that's the last he remembers. He was unconscious for several minutes.
Val was very, very confused and wondered exactly what had happened to him. He had no idea.
His eyes were all fuzzy, hard to see.
He was suffering from welder's blindness, as if he had looked at a very, very brilliant source of light.
Johnson's ribs are badly bruised, and he has a concussion.
He was wondering, where did that light go? What am I doing here? How come the windshield is cracked?
Dispatch. I don't know how to explain it. Something hit my car.
His police instinct kicked in. He immediately radioed for help.
Are you hurt, Deputy?
Banged up a little. I'll survive.
Hang in there, Deputy. Time is now 2:33 a.m. We're on our way.
Of all the peculiarities in the case, perhaps the most peculiar is that not just the dashboard clock, which was electronic, was running 14 minutes slow. But Johnson's wind-up wristwatch was also running 14 minutes slow.
Some people have said that UFOs can affect their environment with electromagnetic fields or waves, but we don't know why both an electrical system in a vehicle and a personal wristwatch might have both been slow by the same amount. It was just a matter of minutes before other police officers arrived.
Can you describe the other vehicle?
It wasn't a vehicle, Greg.
The object was gone, the light was gone. Whatever hit Val Johnson's car came from nowhere and then disappeared. This certainly wasn't a simple hit and run unless it was a simple hit and run by an unidentified flying object.
Police immediately begin an investigation into the crash. All evidence is carefully analyzed. The damaged police car is examined by a team of engineers. They conclude it was struck by some kind of man-made vehicle. Some investigators suggest that Johnson may have collided with a stray, low-flying airplane. Others theorize that the vehicle could have been hit by lightning. But no explanation was ever found for why Johnson's car clock and wristwatch were running 14 minutes behind after the incident. The final accident report concludes that Johnson's squad car sustained damage from an unknown origin.